morning, guys. I had a bit of intuitive insight that I want to share with you on this lovely rainy morning. And I call them intuitive mic drops. They're little bits of wisdom that I get along the way that are initially intended for me to help me along. And then I realize, hey, they're actually intended for other people too. And it has to do with the whole physician heal thyself, even though I'm not a doctor, but any sort of healer, I think, initially gets things intended for themselves, and then it's disseminate accordingly, as they say. So here goes. The information had to do with self-love. And I heard a lecture recently about how Americans in particular didn't understand the concept of self-love. Like, they knew what the words meant, but conceptually the concept is beyond us. And an explanation of that was not provided. And I thought, I wonder why that is. And after the lecture was over, I was trying to figure that out. And my brain was going in a million different directions. And I thought, of course we can't figure out, what self-love means. And I've never lived in another country. I've always lived in the United States, although varying parts of the United States. But we are conditioned from birth to not see ourselves in a positive light. We are born, and the television set is usually always running, as a track in the background. And the commercials that come on are always, blaring messages of you're not good enough, because you're not good enough sells. Women are not beautiful enough. Buy this makeup because you're not good enough. Get this because you're not good enough. You're not thin enough, so you need this piece of exercise equipment. Try this diet because you're too fat. And for everyone, it's if you do this, you'll be happy. That message really comes through. And for men, it may not be you're not beautiful enough, but it's you're not masculine enough. It's you're not successful enough. You're not this enough. So everybody has that in the background. Then you get to school. And I can speak to this because I used to be a teacher. And for all their best efforts, school is designed with these kind of punitive measures of telling kids, you need to fix this about yourself, because we really don't have another way to do things yet. Some teachers are more progressive, but we kind of have to penalize kids for not doing things right, because we're socializing them. So we don't really have anything better yet. So that's how things are done. And it's much the same with parents. You get frustrated, and so you're trying to socialize your child to do certain things and not other things. And so, you may be critical, and if you have a more sensitive child, things that you say that are intended to be, helpful may be seen as critical and punitive and detrimental to that child for all your best efforts. Then you get to the workplace, and every workplace that I have ever worked in runs under the premise of do your job and you're not in trouble. And when you do something wrong, you're in trouble. But nobody is really managed to their strengths, and nobody's really complimented much or rewarded much for doing things well. That tends to be the norm. If you work someplace that is not like that, that's considered a great workplace and a place that people want to work. But why is that not the norm? What's actually been shown in organizational psychology studies is that that's what works for people. That what you should actually be doing is hiring people in accordance with what you need in a department and what their strengths are. So for instance, if you need someone who's organized, you need somebody to organize things. You need somebody who's great with customer service. You need someone who can, I don't know, who has a great phone presence. You should be hiring someone who excels in that area, someone who excels in that area, someone who excels in that area, and putting them in those places. Because what happens is people who are managed to their strengths and who get to do their job in accordance with their strengths are happier, they feel more fulfilled, and they don't get in trouble as much. So, you know, and managers who are able to manage with a level of empathy, you know, they feel better about their job, and people working in a department like that feel great. And so everything works well. But most things, point being, in the United States are managed in accordance with you're not good enough. Most institutions. Churches are much the same way. Most people are told you're sinful, you're horrible, and we're here to save you. It's just overall in the United States not a particularly positive place to be, especially not right now with all the political strife and, you know, all of that. But it really is no wonder that people walk around not liking themselves, and the antidepressant use is through the roof. And I've struggled with depression my whole life, and things have only started to get better since my intuition has opened up and I've started going down this road of healer. So, having said that, I want to go back to the subject at hand. People in the United States can't wrap their head around what self-love looks like. They don't understand what that could be. And I realized that I don't know what that looks like. I'm like, well, I think I like myself. I think that I'm a good person. But what does good really mean? I think that I would want myself as a friend. I think that I make a good partner. I think that I'm a devoted family member. I think that I try to set proper boundaries with people, but also I'm fairly selfless with people as much as I'm able to be. And I try hard at things. What else? I asked a friend of mine who had been talking about self-love. I said, what does that look like for you? And she said that she feels as though at this point in her life, she's pursuing her dreams and she's working on loving people unconditionally, no matter what, with no expectations. And if things work out, great. And if they don't, she still loves that person no matter what, and she wishes them well, and she's going to move on her path. And I said, that's beautiful. But for me in particular, that's definitely part of it, but it's missing something. So I thought about it. And I realized this morning, in fact, that I had gotten something intuitively some months back that kind of put the pieces together for me. And my friend's wisdom combined with my wisdom kind of, put the puzzle together. I realized that something I had gotten over the summer really was very profound for me. And that was that people's bad qualities were not necessarily bad. Let me explain what I mean by that. When people are in balance, their qualities that seem negative aren't. Every part of you is acceptable. And I'll give you some examples of that. That person in your life that you can't seem to get rid of for whatever reason. Maybe you work with them, or maybe there's somebody that you're associated with through a group or a church or what have you, that seems to have, that explosive temper, anger management issue or what have you. When they're actually taking care of themselves and they're in balance, that same quality that makes them fiery is the same quality that would give them the guts to stand up for someone who is the underdog. And I mean, I'm generalizing here. Maybe it wouldn't be, but you see my point. The person who is so driven that they can trample on people in the process of trying to get what they want. When they're in balance, they can also be the same person who doesn't trample on people, but they get stuff done. And the person who is very meek, who never tells you what they're really thinking because they're scared and they don't want to hurt your feelings and this, that, and the other thing. When they're in balance, their compassion comes through. So the reason why I'm saying this is because that is also the case with you and with me. So can you look at all the qualities that you have? The good, the bad, and the ugly. And say, these are the things I like about myself, and these are the things that I don't like about myself. And the things that I don't like about myself are actually things that when I'm taking care of myself and I'm in balance are actually really good qualities. And the way that you put yourself in balance, the easiest is to meditate. And everybody's got every excuse in the book why they can't meditate, but you don't have to meditate for an hour every day. You can do 10-minute meditations. There are a million different ways to meditate, and I would suggest that you research some of them. You don't have to go into a deep trance meditation. You can meditate with your eyes open. You can meditate anywhere, but it helps you come into balance with yourself. There are numerous different studies biologically on what it does for your brain, because your brain basically resets itself through meditation, and it helps you stay focused and it helps you stay grounded. So meditation has numerous different benefits for your health and your heart and a million different things. So when you start to meditate, it just puts you in balance. So I would say that if you begin to do that, you will begin to be able to reset yourself and to be able to put yourself in a case where you don't have extremes anymore. You're not living in a state of ego as much. And it helps you enormously. It helps you to see yourself through a lens of light, for lack of a better word. And when I say this, people are always like, but I don't want to, I don't want to be, to have high self-esteem, because people who have high self-esteem have huge egos. No, that's not the case, actually. It's the inverse of that. I read on a meme once, which is, usually not the best way to get your information, but I read on this meme, and it was actually very wise. It said, I wish you such high self-esteem that you're humble. And that is very true. People with healthy, manageable self-esteem are humble. They're truly humble, not fake humble, not like, oh yes, and this kind of thing. They really are humble, and they care about other people because they take the focus off of themselves, and the focus becomes about the greater good. That's what real self-esteem is. So, I wish that for you. I wish you peace. And I hope that this was helpful for you. I hope that you get to a place where you can do that. And if I can help you, please contact me. Have a wonderful day. Take care.